I'm gonna talk about like that. I'll do kind of an interesting little review log here for that, about that like, first chapter. I'm really getting ready for dinner, so damn straight I am. I mean, okay, so let's just first of all get through all the basic facts. Like, um, let's start with my minor gripes. Now, I don't think that the animation team has done a poor job. Like, they still have a lot of animations. They have a lot of interesting. Um, they have a lot of interesting they at the very least have paid a lot of attention to the animations. Like, it isn't exactly sloppy and it isn't lacking, but it's just that the facial features and animation quality isn't exactly top notch, and in some cases it's rather uncanny. However, like at some point it didn't bother me anymore, since it became really kind of to be expected, actually, so it wasn't too bad. However, I found all of the character models to be really, really eerie from the very beginning. However, later on, they weren't too bad, I feel. Like, later on, the character models weren't, like, even though they were eerie, once I got used to them, that wasn't too bad anymore, so, yeah. Okay, I suppose like music would be a pretty good thing to talk about. It was fine. That's about it. Like, the music was background music. It's good. It's not exactly what I personally prefer, but that's not to say like it was really good for what it tried to be, and I feel like it accomplished its goal rather well. I especially like how they organically involved the music into the gameplay, so that you actually had to turn on music to get background tracks, and just in general, like those things. That's a really minor thing, but that's a really cool little detail there. Yeah, then the voice acting I found to be actually just acceptable. It wasn't anything bad, but it wasn't. I kind of want to say it wasn't good, but just thinking about it was good. It just was different. Whatever. And then I suppose I should talk about the story and main gameplay. The gameplay actually is probably one of the most boring parts of the game, because it's just very, very dialogue heavy, very story driven, very linear. But, well, not exactly linear, but very simplistic. It's kind of the instilled essence of just games, that you have choices and those choices have actions, although there is no loose state. That's not a bad design, it more is just a very, very simplistic way of going around making a game. At the very least, it has an interesting exploration element of going through those dialogue trees, which is pretty good in my opinion, that it has that kind of aspect to it, that like there is exploration in a non-traditional sense, that you can go through those dialogue trees multiple times to see all of the options there. That is good, and that is not unique, but good. And then the story itself, it's still unfolding. It's definitely a mystery in the beginning. What is even going to be the main purpose of this game? I mean, it's pretty clear now that we are going to have to either escape or do something about that tornado or save the town or something. That's going to be apparent later on. But, yeah. It wasn't bad. Like, the story itself, like, it is very mundane with a supernatural element. But it follows that mundanity to its actually, like, it makes a mundane story and setting and gives it the spices of reality and makes it a tad bit more interesting. And I find that to be, at the very least, acceptable. And then the characters I found to be actually the best part of the story, or the game in general, because the characters are annoying at some points, but they're realistic. I mean, they are maybe they do portray stereotypes in a very painfully truthful manner. They are very stereotypical, but they are still kind of realistic in a sense. So And the characters at the very least have interesting interactions, and the dialogue is certainly one of the strongest points of this show. It's like it isn't anything unique, it isn't extraordinary, but it's good and it serves its purpose perfectly. And the interesting juxtaposition of the time traveling mechanics, such as supernaturally, extraordinarily, expertly interesting mechanic, juxtaposed with just the mundanity of normal school life, is actually kind of creates an interesting, diverse feeling there. So that's an interesting way to do it. I'm interested to see where this will eventually go, since I am kind of excited to see it. Like, this is a non-traditional exploration game, which I do appreciate that it has that kind of aspect to it, which is rather rare, and it's done really well here, I feel. So I don't dislike it. I feel like it's a unique game. It has a very unique feeling to it, with a very huge sense of mundanity combined with an interesting use of a supernatural element. And it has even though its gameplay isn't exactly the most entertaining and most interesting part of it, it isn't completely uninteractive either, which is, frankly speaking, rather cool that they implemented it in a manner that gives you options beyond just the choices. Also, since not choosing anything is an option, that is also rather creative. So, yeah, I do like it. Yeah, I mean, it's an I mean, I want to say it's a good game, but I need to see how it actually concludes to see whether it's a good game or not. But I'm enjoying it, and it certainly is entertaining. So, yeah, and it has intricate details, and actually it has a pretty good lighting effects. Yeah. The sum of the parts is better than the parts taken as separate pieces. Like, it is a good sum. It's a good game, I feel. And certainly unique. Okay. So,